Welcome to the Common Sense Show. Mondays, Common Sense Mondays. It's a shout out to all the people out there who realize that no one's going to come and save them. Let me just switch cameras. That makes you a real one, and you're here with me, so I appreciate you very much. We're here to talk about business news, finance, the way it should have been taught to you when you were in schools. So this afternoon, we're talking about Paycheck to Paycheck Nation. That's kind of where we are right now. It takes so much money just to survive right now, like so much. And some people surviving, some people are not. You just got a new glimpse of my fish cam. Let me show it to you again. This is my I'll tell you what, let me do it this way. There we are. There's the fish cam. Now, I just got I did a conversion. So I had a freshwater tank, and I just did a conversion to saltwater. And like I have the live rock. I have you probably at the bottom if you kind of like look a little higher. There's some snails in there. They help to keep the tank clean. A couple of damsels. I'll be getting more as the time goes on, but yeah, I mean it's a good start. They're going to be featured prominently in our live streams. But getting back to Paycheck Nation, I mean it's hard out there for a lot of people, and I'm sure you are no stranger to this as well. In fact, I know that I'm doing this live stream while you're at work. So if you're on the replay crew, just give me a shout out in the comment section. Say hello. Tell me where you're from if you're watching this later, which state you're from, and what you do for work. I'm interested to know what exactly you do for work. 51% is the stat. 51% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And what does that look like? Well, you worked hard this week. You got paid. And somehow, by the time the bills hit, you need a tank of gas. Car insurance is about to come out and be auto drafted. You haven't gone food shopping yet. And your kid just tells you that their shoes are hurting their toes. That's kind of like what it means to live paycheck to paycheck. It means that you are, as soon as it comes in, man, it's going out, and then some, and then some, right? Like there's more. It's not just that it's going out. It's like the rate that it goes out is kind of crazy, right? Like there's some months, you worked hard, you bust your butt. Sometimes, like if you're doing like overtime, if you do overtime, or if you're a business owner and you have like a pretty good month, and it's just like sometimes it's like, oh man, this is great, but only lasts for like a half a second, and then all the bills kind of come due at the same time. And that's assuming that, they haven't gone up over the last month. And right now with like the cost of like, energy prices, both at the pump and with that in your house, I'm sure it's kind of crazy right now. So I wanted to talk to you today, generally speaking, about kind of what's going on. I do a lot of economic stuff here, because I think that's the most pressing thing for most people nowadays is their own personal economics, how they're being affected by what they see and what is happening. So I like to kind of talk about that and put you on the radar, put you on the, give you some insight into what's going on. I was just looking at a story the other day that said that there's $1.28 trillion in credit card debt right now. $1.28 trillion in credit card debt. That number is staggering. It's staggering. That means that, excuse me, The average credit card debt per individual is about $6,000 right now. That's what that means. And the average minimum monthly payment, $132.36. Now, depending on where you live around the US, that's probably the cost of an energy bill during the month. It could be the cost of not just the energy bill, but could be the cost of insurance. Well, part of the insurance bill. Certainly the cost of, 1 week's worth of groceries. For sure, you could buy a pair of shoes for your kids or yourself or your significant other with that. It's a lot of money. $132 is the average monthly payment. And the time to pay that off on average is 7 years right now. 7 years. And so oftentimes when we start seeing credit card debt inch up in the economy, what we start seeing is the reason why, obviously, is that people are using more credit. And oftentimes people use credit cards. I mean, usually not like they're supposed to, which is why people like Dave Ramsey exist, right? Because if you use credit how you were supposed to, you wouldn't be using credit unless you could pay it off fully. There would be no debt, no credit card debt on your ledger. But right now we're in a place where, people have to spend it to just survive, right? You get paid every other week, every 2 weeks, twice a month, whatever the frequency is. And you end up having to deal with, whatever that whole crushing payment is in between the time that you get paid, right? Oftentimes what happens is people get paid, let's say you get paid every 2 weeks, right? You get paid this week. You spend all your money on bills. And then when you're just at the low amount that you have left after you kind of budgeted all your bills, and then something major happens in between the time you get paid, like the gray zone, right? The jump off zone, that little space in between when you get paid. That zone is the zone that really helps to drive up credit card debts, because that's when people, can't afford to live. So that might include you as well. The 30-day delinquency rate has trended up. That's no good, because that stays on your credit report for 7 years. So what I encourage is to pay, if you have to, pay the minimum payment. You should never be charging on your credit card more than you can pay off anyway. But if you have to, and we're talking about, this whole live is about Paycheck to Paycheck Nation. So what we're talking about today is the fact that you might have to use your card. And if you do, pay the minimum payment. You don't want a 30-day late to affect your credit card payment. That would not be good at all. You do not want that. There's a new report where it said that half of consumers carrying balances are doing so because of what researchers call the affordability crisis, where costs are rising at a way faster clip than income. And the only way that they can buffer income to rising cost of living is credit. And that's been happening for the last few years. So this is not new, because the credit card crisis has literally increased for the last decade. And, it just kind of is accelerating now and getting a little bit worse. The question is about what to do about it. It's hard, right? When you start seeing, your savings dwindle and trying to afford it, this is when people start. Remember when we used to say, you need 2 jobs to survive, right? Now you need 3. You need one person with a job and a side hustle, and you need another person with a full-time job. So the amount of jobs that people need to just kind of pay stuff is going up and up and up and up and up and up. I just saw a story on a news channel that I'm going to share with you right now about the whole, credit card thing. And it's not really a pretty picture. Let me know in the comments, are you seeing the same thing with yourself? Are you starting to see your cost of living going up? going up? And if so, where? And if so, what? I want to know where you see it going up and what it is, because I think that that is something that a lot of us are facing right now. Just the sheer cost, the volume of costs of what everything is actually costing at the moment. So let's take a look at this news report. This is from CBS News, just I think a couple of days ago, um, maybe a few days ago, was talking about this very thing, and it's a real issue for so many people. Let's see.
A record number of Americans are now carrying credit card debt that they can't pay down. According to a joint report from the think tank, the Century Foundation, and the advocacy group Protect Borrowers, roughly 111 million people were unable to pay off their monthly balances in 2025. That represents half of all Americans who have a credit card and 40% of the population. That's a lot. In total, those cardholders carried more than $1 trillion in debt month to month, the report found. CBS News Money Watch reporter Megan Cirillo joins us now. Megan, it's always great to have you. These findings show that Americans were struggling with monthly credit card bills even before the war with Iran ran up oil and gas prices. Is this something that's going to push it over?
It could be the exogenous shock that pushes these same consumers over the brink. They were already facing higher prices in part because of tariffs. We also saw the expiration of Affordable Care Act subsidies. So some Americans were facing higher healthcare costs, and polling shows that they were doing things like skipping meals and delaying seeking out medical care because they simply couldn't afford.
Skipping meals. People are skipping meals. That's crazy to me. People are skipping meals because they can't afford stuff. That is nuts. That is a real problem. I mean, you know, Americans probably can afford to skip some meals, but that's nuts.
Now, those same consumers are facing gas prices that are inching close to $4 a barrel, and I'm sorry, $4, and that's pain they feel at the pump every single week.
That's something you can't get away from when you have to travel to get to work and such things. So in January, President Trump floated a proposal that would cap credit card interest rates at 10%. How could that help, and where does that stand?
The deadline, which he said at the time was January 20th, has come and gone. And at the time, it wasn't clear how it would be enforced anyway. There's bipartisan legislation that would cap interest rates at 10%, but the president has not officially endorsed it. The research that you cited a moment ago found that a 10% cap would be saving consumers $368 million a day in interest payments. That's the difference between what they're paying on those balances, with interest rates hovering at around 22%, versus what they'd be saving if interest rates were capped at 10%. Banks are opposed to such a cap. They argue that it would limit consumers' access to credit, and advocates for consumers say that these interest rates are a big profit center for banks.
All right, Megan, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Meg.
So, I mean, that's a problem. I think that interest rates are ridiculously high. Even if you have good credit, it used to be that you like a major difference in credit card interest rates when someone. I mean, it was and there is right now. There's still a difference between interest rates between what someone with great credit and someone without great credit would pay. The issue now is that the interest rates for people who have good credit have gone through the roof too. Like, it's not the same as they used to. Like, it's still not like 5%, 6% interest rate on the credit card. I mean, I know someone with a credit card score in the eights where the interest rate was still over 20 something percent. I mean, that's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination for a credit card, right? I mean, I get it. Credit cards are disastrous, generally speaking, but for someone with great credit, for it to be that high, over 20%, like nobody would tolerate that before. And there's nothing that anyone can really do about it other than, I mean, we can complain about it and we could, huff and puff, but stop feeding the credit card companies, man. Stop applying for these credit cards. I mean, the fact that according to that news report, half of the people who have credit cards right now are drowning in debt, and that has to do with the fact that they're using it more because they can't afford regular stuff, and that's a problem. Dave Ramsey and those folks will be in business for a long time because that's a lot of people. 111 million people with credit cards are like in credit card debt. We have tried to train our kids about how to manage bills and finance the best we could. And, my daughter is very conscious of her credit score. And, she's an adult now, young adult. But she's aware, which is all you can really ask, right? Because so many people grow up without getting the fundamental knowledge and their parents teaching them about finances on any specific degree, right? To any specific degree, to any specific level. And she has really exceeded our expectations with trying to understand it and being receptive to learning. And those people end up having so many bugaboos when they grow up about money. I did an interview with a money mindset coach probably like 2 or 3 years ago. And it was actually really good because in that interview, she talked about having money blocks, right? Having issues around money where those issues around money tend to affect you a little bit more. And you have these blocks around how to deal with money. And people have these and they just kind of like don't know how to escape. They don't reach escape velocity with their thinking, right? I think I said escape velocity with their thinking about how to manage money. And, one of the ways that, we talked about getting around it is having a plan, of course, changing how you view money foundationally, changing how you expect yourself to kind of deal with issues with money when they arise and having to have like a plan around that, and really not being scared of budgeting and planning and making your mind over about how you actually do it. I know that nobody wants to budget and it feels brutal, but it's necessary, right? Like to know how much money you have coming in. We typically only count how much money we have coming in. We rarely, if anything, count money going out and how much it is and how often and when during the month. But when you start doing that, it gives you some sense of control about what you have coming up and what you can afford. So, that's something that, people right now are having to struggle and deal with. And I get it. Like, it really isn't easy. And on top of the credit card debt that people have right now, like they're also having issues with affordability when it comes to insurance, because insurance has gone up. And insurance is a big bugaboo right now. It's not just that it's gone up for some people and it's gone up in small increments. It's gone up crazily, right? At the moment where people are paying double, triple. They're paying an inordinate amount more than they were paying, before. And it's making life even harder, right? Let's take a look at this. Take a look at this video. No. Bad TikTok. Okay, here we are.
Howdy, friends. Don't scroll. Please, I need insurance advice.
Or anything. Can you hear it? Hold on one second.
We State Farm for our car insurance and homeowners insurance. We've had them since 1995. My family's been a customer of theirs even well before that. I'm buying a new car.
I need to come back here for a minute. Hold on one second. Technical issues. Whenever you stream, you can count on having technical issues. That's for sure. 1 second. Okay, let's try this again. Let's try this again.
And just like that, I'm back.
Howdy, friends. Don't scroll. Please, I need insurance advice.
I don't know. All right, let's go on to something else. Let's go on to another screen here. No, fish cam. Get away. All right, let's try this one.
Worked in medical for 18 years, over 18 years now. And there are more people right now that I know of personally that do not have health insurance because they chose not to keep it because of the cost. For instance, there is a coworker that I know of that was getting benefits from the state. They cut her benefits off because she made too much money, legit made too much money. She gets no help from the children's father. And she said, I can't afford my health insurance anymore, along with having to cover their needs. So she canceled her health insurance. There are more people now without health insurance because of the skyrocketing prices and what is being done about it. What's being done? We have a whole lot of, well, this and that and the other, but we have no resolution. We have no answers. We're in the same position this week that we were 3 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, with no answers. All we have are people going without health insurance when there's too much unknown not to have health insurance, I feel. But if you can't afford it, then you can't afford it. There's no other thing that you can do. That's what I just thought about on my drive over to my husband's shop. Tell me your thoughts.
You know what's so funny is that when I'm driving, I don't usually think about anything. I just drive. It's like not having any dream. People are having issues right now with affordability. And insurance is one of the issues, or one of the reasons why. That's kind of like the state of affairs at the moment, you know? So, you know, I'd love to, here's what I think. I think that, you know, there are some options out there. Like I know with healthcare, there's a couple of like crowd sourcing platforms out there that allow you to pool your money with like a bunch of other members. And so whenever there is a medical emergency, you can actually kind of like crowdfund and then take care of each other's emergencies. And they do that by, it's not like they, for instance, someone in your group has a heart attack and need heart surgery, and then they ask someone for money. No, it's typically a membership base where they have a specific membership fee. That membership fee is your contribution, usually less than insurance and an insurance premium. And then they basically, how it works is they'll call the hospital and negotiate a cash price, right? And then after they negotiate a cash price, then they will pay it from the pooled funds of the members, right? From their monthly memberships. But they negotiate the cash price first, because hospitals, when you pay cash, I did a whole video on this. When you pay cash to the hospitals, you get the service for way cheaper, because the cost of paying through insurance is crazy to a hospital, mainly because of what it costs them to actually get paid from the hospitals, but also because of the amount of administrative costs associated with the back and forth, not just with the hospital, but also with the insurance company. So they rather have people pay cash. And for paying cash for that benefit, they incentivize you with an extraordinary discount, which I find to be way cheaper than what you might find out there. It's actually pretty cool. So Like, take a look at that. If you notice that your insurance has skyrocketed, take a look at some of those, like, health. Just Google health insurance crowdfunding companies, and it will come up. I'm pretty sure. One of the biggest healthcare drivers that no one's talking about, I think, comes from like that GLP-1 Ozempic drug, where it costs about like $100,000 a month. I think that's part of the reason why people's health insurance premiums have gone up, or the health insurance cost, not necessarily the premium, but their cost for health insurance has gone up. It's because they're using that kind of wonder drug, Ozempic, and a lot of insurance companies are absorbing those costs. And the interesting thing is, are they passing it on to other people with premiums help in their network? Right? I don't know. But the cost of the GLP-1 drug has tripled in the last year because of how many people have actually started taking it. Here's the bottom line. Family paying for employer health insurance, home insurance, auto insurance in 2026 is paying an estimated $2,000 to $4,000 more per year than in 2023. And it's probably less likely that your income has gone up substantially because of that. So if you're paying for health insurance premiums, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, you can expect to pay more, and it's not going to slow down anytime soon. Now, another reason why everything's getting so much more expensive is because your income, even if your income has gone up because you got a cost of living adjustment. So let's say that you got a cost of living adjustment by like 3%, right? And so your cost of living has gone up by 3% to try to rise with the level of inflation. What's the problem with that? Well, the problem is that groceries are 18% more expensive than they were in 2022. Home prices are 45% higher than they were in 2020. And gas on average is like around $4 a gallon. It's over $5 a gallon where I am here in Massachusetts. So it's kind of like a phantom raise, right? So you may have gotten a raise of 3 or 4%, but in reality, the entire total cost of like how you're living your life has gone up substantially. So if you got a 4% raise in, let's say, 2025, but you faced 6 or 7% health insurance premium increase, an average rent increase of 4 to 5%, and groceries are 18% more expensive, then you're probably, like, in real dollar terms, net negative in how much more you can afford because everything has gone up. You know, there's a survey done that said that 76% of Americans have little to no financial safety net. 21% of paycheck recipients have $0 left after each pay period. And 55% have a little left over, not enough, though, to build any cushion. And 32% of Americans surveyed in this survey feel like their financial to get worse in 2026 and not better. So there is a lot of stuff happening at the moment where, generally speaking, even if you got a raise, you're probably not feeling like you're very wealthy at the moment. Probably feel like this lady right here who's talking about her income right now.
Paid $9.49 and my bills equal $9.74. So I literally work to pay my bills. I never have money for groceries, barely. Sometimes maybe $90 if I'm lucky. I'm gonna have to go to the food pantry again, which is fine. I'm really blessed to have access to that.
Crazy.
But I just wish that work meant something. Like, I wish I had enough. Like, I don't even have enough to cover my bills. So now I can only pay half of my power bill. Hopefully they don't want to freaking shut it off on me. Like, people talking about get a different job. It doesn't just work like that. I get 10 hours of sick a month and 10 hours of annual. My daughter has health conditions and I constantly have to be out of work. If I worked any other job, I'd be fired because I would have already taken 7 days off. they fire you if you need more time off because we're economic slaves. We work for this economy, but this economy doesn't work for us. Most of us are old, retired, living off of disability and security, complaining about not having enough. That's the American dream. All of us living off of the government, upset. Yeah, okay. And I don't get assistance because they say I make too much.
Mm.
I definitely made too much this check. I have enough for the groceries and then some, huh? Like, if I could just skip my bills, I'd have enough money to go get my car taken care of. Like, fuck. Changed, my tires rotated, my brakes done, my alignment fixed, my steering column fixed. Like, that would be great. Especially because my car eats 2 quarts of oil every 500 miles. So I have to constantly put oil in it because I was scanned from my car dealership. I was like, just wanting to get groceries this check, honestly.
That's how people are feeling, man. Is what it is. You know, that's where people are at. They are not feeling great about kind of their financial situation. And, you know, I think it's getting harder for them. So I want to ask you, are you feeling the pinch yourself? What is life like where you live? Put your where you live in the comment section and let me know. Are you being squeezed? Are you feel like you know, you feel like you can't get ahead, or not even ahead? Do you feel like you can't pay your bills and then be able to just kind of deal with life and the expenses as they come up? I want to know. So if you are if you're a small business owner, are you finding that you are able to meet your cost burden as well? I want to know that. If you work for someone else, let me know that as well. Are you finding that you have an issue with trying to afford things in your life, right? I did a video, I just recorded one that's coming out on Wednesday this week about dealerships, right? The average price of a car is $50,000 and dealers can't even it can't even give these things away. The cost of prices on cars are so expensive, right? They're so high right now. So let me know what you're seeing out there where you live. Put it in the comment section. Like, what's groceries like, health insurance premiums? Are you having a hard time paying your credit cards? I want to know. Tell me about your story or about what you're seeing, what you're hearing. If you don't feel comfortable telling your story. All right. Well, I appreciate you all watching today. And until next Monday, when we go back live again, I'm Micah. This is the Common Sense Show, and I'll talk to you later.